Hey everyone, for today's video, I'll be guiding you over how to build Aglaea, who is an extremely fast, ultimate-dependent crisis heir. Starting off with her kits, in short, she's an ultimate-dependent speedster who really wants to use her really expensive ultimate. She wants to use her ultimate because throughout the battle, she collects stacks that her ultimate converts into speed and attack stats. She collects these stacks whenever her Memo Sprite attacks an enemy that has been inflicted with the Seam Stitch effect by previously having been attacked by Aglaea, or when Aglaea uses her enhanced basic attack. For her skill priorities, you should prioritize leveling up her basic attack since that's where her main source of damage comes from, or level up her ultimate since it lets her activate her speed and attack buffs, or level up her Memo Sprite skill since that's where a big part of her scaling comes from, or level up her Memo Sprite talent since that's where a lot of her speed and attack buffs come from, then level up her talent since it increases her Memo Sprite stats, then level up her skill since it increases her Memo Sprite's starting HP. Here's how to save big when topping up for Honkai Staros's 3.8 banners. Lootbar.gg has a limited discount on the 6,480 on Eric Shards bundle, alongside a bunch of other discounts on different bundles, like the all-in-one bundle and the guaranteed bundles. They also have a 10% off for new users coupon, and a 5% and a 3% off for returning users coupon. To save on your top-ups, go to lootbar.gg, choose a bundle, put your account information, then click Top Up Now. Then select your payment method, add or use a coupon code, then click Pay Now. In a couple of minutes, your discounted bundle should arrive. Now, lootbar.gg is trusted by creators like Jello Impact and Goba Certified, and that has a 4.9 rating on Trustpilot alongside a bunch of 5-star reviews. So if you want to save when topping up, go to lootbar.gg by clicking the link in the pinned comments or description. For her stats, she'll obviously want a ton of attack and a 1-to-2 crit rate to crit damage ratio, but she'll also want a specific amount of speed depending on what build you choose to go for. You can go for a base speed build with Sunday, in where Aglaea remains at 102 speed, and Sunday is built with 160 speed. This build will allow Aglaea to focus on attack and crit stats, and it'll simply be easier to build since her other build requires her to be at 163 speed with her signature or at 173 speed without it, which is extremely difficult to do. Now, a big issue with this build is that it requires Sunday to be at 160 speed, which is also extremely difficult to do and honestly not worth it for a lot of other DPS characters, since you're sacrificing a lot of his crit damage for his crit damage buff. Thus, if you'd prefer to build Sunday so that he can work with the majority of other DPS characters, you can simply build him with 135 speed and build Aglaea with 163 speed if you have her signature, or with 173 speed if you don't. This build will have the benefits I've already mentioned, and it'll give your Aglaea 2 more turns than her previous build, which is the max amount of turns that Aglaea can feasibly do in one cycle. It'll also allow Aglaea to synergize with Robin's ultimate by allowing Robin to re-enter her ultimate without wasting her advance forward on Aglaea, which will allow Aglaea to do some really impressive zero cycles with enough investment into other stats. Now, if neither of these builds appeal to you because you don't even have Sunday, which I strongly recommend getting if you're gonna use Aglaea, well then you should simply build your Aglaea with the traditional 135 or 161 speed. This build will obviously be significantly worse than the others since it means you won't have Sunday, but it should still be a viable option. For her relics, she'll want the Triumphant Song set because it increases attack, speed, and crit damage by a ton. You can also use a 2-piece bonus that provides attack percentage or electro damage alongside a 2-piece bonus that provides crits. For her planners, you can use the Banana Amusement set because it provides a whopping 48% crit damage. You can also use the Rudolin Arena set since it provides crit rates and basic attack damage. For an alternative, you can use the Glamov set because it provides attack and damage dealt. You can also use the Arcadia set because it provides a lot of damage dealt if she's paired up with a ton of other crisis heirs like Cyrene, RMC, and Hyacine. For her main stats, she's gonna want crit for her body, speed or attack percentage for her feet, lightning damage for her sphere, and energy recharge rate over attack percentage for her rope if she's below E1. For her substats, she's gonna want speed until her desired breakpoint, then crit, then attack percentage. For her Lightcones, her signature will be her best because it provides a bunch of speed and other buffs. For an alternative, the Sweat Now Cry Less Lightcone at Superimposition 5 would be her second best, but it'd be worse than the Reminisce Lightcone at Superimposition 5. For another alternative, the Genius's Greetings would also be good because it provides attack and basic attack buffs. For her teams, well, considering that she's a main DPS, her teams will mostly consist of specific supports and sustainers. For her supports, Sunday will undoubtedly be the best since he provides provides a bunch of buffs like damage dealt, crit rate, crit damage, and he advances Aglaea forward by 100%, which is crucial since she wants to do as many turns as possible. But most importantly, he provides a massive amount of energy that allows Aglaea to consistently use her expensive ultimate. Bronya would be a nice replacement for Sunday since she also advances Aglaea forward and provides a bunch of amplifying effects like crit damage, damage dealt, and attack percentage. Cyrene will also be a really good support for Aglaea when paired up with other Crisis Heirs and Remembrance characters for quicker Cyrene ultimates, because Cyrene provides a ton of amplifying effects. She helps Aglaea instantly ramp up her speed stacks, and she provides a bunch of energy that helps with Aglaea's energy problems. Robin would also be a really good teammate for Aglaea since her ultimate's advance forward synergizes really well with Aglaea's action value, and Aglaea can trigger a lot of Robin's coordinated attacks, at least compared to other DPS. RMC would also be a good alternative to single target supports like Sunday or Bronya, since they can advance Aglaea forward, provide true damage, and synergize really well with Cyrene. Tribby would also be a good teammate for Aglaea, since Aglaea can attack so many more enemies than most DPS that Tribby's additional damage and energy regeneration is triggered much more often. Now, for her sustainers, miHoYo would be an amazing pick since she can provide energy for Aglaea, but Danheng PT and Hyacinth would also be a good choice that can provide top tier sub DPS and sustaining, and they'll be especially good if you're using Cyrene, since they're both a Crisis Heir and Hyacinth has a Memo Sprite. For her Eidolons, her E1 solves her massive energy issues that restrict her teams and performance. Her E2 allows her to ignore up to 42% defense, which is an insane amount of defense ignore that'll be even better when paired up with other sources of defense shred/ignore, like Sunday's E1. Her E4 will increase the rate at which you get Aglaea's speed stacks, and it'll increase its limit by 1, which will actually be a really good E4 since ramping up her speed stacks is another issue of hers. For her C6, it increases her lightning damage respan and her Joan attack damage by decent amounts, but I wouldn't go for this Eidolon even if you could comfortably spend your resources on it. For my investment recommendations, I recommend going for her E1, then her S1, then her E2. This is because her E1 solves her biggest issue, her energy issues. Her S1 provides a ton of amplifying effects, but most importantly speed, and her E2's defense shred is good, but not as good as her S1. Now should you pull for Aglaea? Well, considering that Aglaea will be rerunning a month before 4.0, I feel like summoning on Aglaea or pretty much any banner in 3.8, with the exceptions of maybe Dahlia and Sunday, would be incredibly risky since all of those characters are highly likely to be power crept in the coming versions. Not only that, but even if Aglaea doesn't get power crept soon, her investments are crucial, even if not expensive, considering you need Sunday, Cyrene, or her E1, aka at least one cost to solve her energy problems that completely ruin her performance. Thus, I'd say Aglaea is only a good investment if you already have her other one cost investments, since she's actually a top tier DPS with those investments, and if the foreseeable power creep doesn't concern you. Anyways, that's all I've got for today. If you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. If you wish to know more, you can click on the video to the right. With that being said, goodbye.